Nick Hart is a local comedian. So does that make his campaign for mayor a joke? On today's episode of the Madsplainers, we talk with Nick all about his run. I'm Eric Lawrenson. I report on tech for the Cap Times.
I'm Lisa Speckard-Pask, and I am the Metro reporter.
And I'm Abby Becker. I cover city and county government.
And this is Madsplainers Election Edition. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Another episode of Madsplainers Election Edition coming at you. Today, we've got a very interesting interviewee, Nick Hart. He is a candidate in the race for mayor who also ran in 2011. He's a comedian. He actually,
as seen on Conan.
As seen on Conan. He made an appearance last year. And yeah, his campaign's kind of interesting. It's sometimes maybe a little bit not clear, like how serious of a candidate he is. He's a really jokey guy.
I mean, and he's literally said that Madison should not end up with him as the mayor. So
yeah, he's sort of running on the platform that is a challenge. He's challenging Madison voters to get out and vote, or else Madison could end up with a mayor like Nick Hart. So when asked the question, is his campaign a joke? Is he, serious about running for mayor? He often, flips that around and says, Madison municipal politics is the joke, and the joke is the low turnout number in local elections.
Especially for something like Madison that prides itself on being progressive and politically involved in, yeah.
Exactly. So much of what you hear from him at forums, it's funny. He's a funny guy, right? So he is lighthearted, brings that whole air of levity. Candidates often stick to their talking points, right? And you hear a lot of, there's serious questions and with serious answers, and Nick is funny, which is great to listen to. He does in several instances, though, brings policy suggestions, and he has, strong ideas about equity in the city, has straight up called the city racist. He also has some thoughts on the police department, and we talk about that with him as well on this episode.
Yeah, let's dive in. All right, here's the interview with Nick.
So I want to know, what was it like being on Conan?
It was a little surreal. You definitely feel the camera take your soul a little bit. I don't know. It was surreal. I mean, you've done. Once you get to that point, I think you've done it so many times that performing's not strange.
Right.
You're, oh my God, this is going to be on TV.
Everyone is going to see me. Kind of strange.
And they tell you, they're like, hey, Dana Gold has come out here and forgotten his first 2 minutes. So it's not live. Just if you're panic or you they call it like almost a blackout.
Yeah.
You kind of just go into the mode of performing, and then you get done, and you're like, did I even do what I was supposed to do?
I'm curious what it's like beforehand. Like, who calls you and is like, hey, you want to be on the show? Like, who does that?
Well, no one calls you. I just, through people I'd met, I went out and did the Seattle International Comedy Competition and did pretty well in that. And then came back to town, and there were several other comics were like, I'm going to recommend you to Conan's booker. And then they wouldn't.
Yeah.
And then I had one last kind of card to play, and that was with a buddy of mine from South Carolina, Rory Scovel. And I sent him the clip, and I go, dude, just how do you get on TV?
Right.
And he just turned around and said, I just went ahead and sent your clip to the booker, so maybe you'll hear back. You probably won't.
Yeah.
And then the next day I heard back.
Okay.
And then it was 5 months of sending the same clip over and over different ways. And it finally happened.
Yeah. So I watched the clip.
I got super lucky.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself. What brought you to Madison? What do you do here?
I moved here in 2003. My mother is from McFarland, so we always grew up coming up here to visit. Mm-hmm. And my brother moved up here in 2002 and got into production and audio engineering, and that's kind of what I wanted to do. And then I got up here, and I think I worked the first Halloween of 2003. Down at the end of State Street. We built that stage up. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, we were there till 4 or 5 in the morning. The riot police were pushing all the rioters towards us, the tear gas. And I was like, all right, I don't want to do production anymore. This is nonsense.
Yeah, well, you were in the
That was when it was cool.
Yeah.
The next year I did not work it, and then I think that was 2004, and then so 2005 was when they started charging And I was like, all right, I'm done.
Then you got out.
Yeah, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was wild times. Back when the city had some grit to it, I feel like.
Well, so let's cut to the chase. Why are you running for mayor?
I moved up here in 03. I started working with him, Matt, who's sitting over here, no one who's listening, the campaign manager, and I saw the results for the primary in 07, and it was like 22,000 people voted in the primary, and I was like, we can get 1,000 people just from the bars. How do we get on the ballot? And he was like, we got to wait another 4 years. So we're like, all right, well, that idea's gone. I'm not going to be here in 4 years. And then ended up being here in 4 years later and was doing comedy. And was just like, all right, well, I said I would do this. So
here we
doing
go.
comedy, maybe a good way to get the name out. And then just jumped in.
Yeah, so what has the process been like for you so far this time around?
This time around, it's been more, I think there's just more interest, I feel, with the lineup of candidates. I think it feels like there's more interest. And then with Soglin saying he wasn't going to run for re-election, that's when he was like, well, I think we should probably do this. We just see if we can get through the primary. And then Soglin, of course, came back and said he was going to do it, which we kind of knew.
So you weren't surprised by that?
I wasn't. Were you? Matt says no.
Matt is shaking his head no here. Yep.
Yeah. We kind of knew, because I would have. Why wouldn't you? You're undefeated. Why wouldn't you just keep coming back?
Just keep on coming.
It's a job.
Yeah. So you ran. You ran in 2011.
2011.
Yep. And you are running now. Has that motive sort of testing voters and kind of challenging that idea of low voter turnout kind of remained the same throughout?
Yeah, because it's stayed the same. Like the voter turnout isn't that high in the primaries, so it's still that's the kind of the strategy of getting people who normally would not be involved. Involved, and most of those people are sitting on bar stools. So, and those are my people.
Well, so you've almost dared Madison residents to come out and vote, because if they don't, they could end up with a candidate like you.
They could end up with a comedian.
Yeah.
As their mayor.
Have you given thought to what would happen if that does happen? I mean, if you do make it through the primary, if you are elected, what happens then?
Do the job. I mean, if you get elected, you got to go in there and do the job. It's it'd be interesting. I mean, there's there's someone who posted, like, it would be every mayoral race should have a comedian running in it. And I think that's just one of these things is not like the other. So if there was another comedian up there, we'd probably cancel each other out. But, it's just kind of being up there and I'm up there learning for myself. So there's no motivation other than that. And to call out Madison, and you guys better get involved.
Yeah, I mean, you're a funny guy. You're a comedian, but I mean, I was thinking back to the mayoral forum on January 9th. You definitely, I've said this before, but brought an air of levity to the situation.
Sure.
That was great.
Yeah.
But you also real serious in certain situations and brought up some big issues. I mean, you've flat out said Madison needs to deal with its racism and challenge people to be as progressive as the city, says it is.
The racism thing is, the city has some racists, and it sounds crazy coming from a white guy, but just growing up down south, racism down there, those people who are racist, they don't put themselves in situations where their racism comes out. Like, they stay out in the woods. They don't, it's up here, it seems to be more, like, it's very backhanded, but you're kind of, with people I've met that are African American that are from the South, and they move up here, through conversation, I go, where is it more racist? Where'd you experience more racism? They're like, up here, definitely. Like, and it's not blatant. It's just something they can sense. I don't know if it's a better word, like they can just feel it. Like, this, I think they're being racist here, but I can't put my hand on it. So yeah, I think it just Matt's just be honest with itself, and that's the only way we can start to proceed and be more progressive as we claim to be.
I guess I'm curious what you think being as progressive as Madison says it is kind of means.
I think it totes itself as being progressive, but when 20% are voting in your primaries in municipal politics, how progressive are you? You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know, like, down in Spartanburg where I'm from, I couldn't tell you. I don't remember a mayor. I don't remember anyone ever talking about a mayor. So you're as progressive as Spartanburg. And farmers, you know what I mean?
Like, I'm guessing that's not a high compliment.
That progressive. Like, yeah, they don't claim to be progressive down there. So I just think that's the case here in Madison.
Yeah, I mean, so
it feels good. It feels good to say we're progressive rather than showing it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if elected, you are in this race. So if elected, you know, what would you want to do and act to sort of make improvements or change?
I'd probably be working close with Toriana as the equity coordinator for the city. I mean, she's more in tune with this than I am, for sure.
And I think we've been sort of discussing this, but I'm curious what you think the greatest challenge facing Madison is currently.
The greatest challenge facing Madison. I don't know. Someone asked the question I passed on at the forum. I felt like they were asking me how I'd fix the sky. They were asking about
the question regarding climate change.
Yeah, climate change. Like, did you just ask me how I'm going to fix the sky? Like, we can do everything right, perfect here, and then the 150 million people to the west can mess it all up for us. So, the most challenging thing for Madison, I think, is just to prove that it's as progressive as that it claims to be, and deal with its racism.
I mean, you know, I think obviously with an issue like climate change, right? I mean, that's a huge global issue.
Right.
But I think it's trying to get at also, you know, what locally, you know, can be done. And I think that kind of does play into how progressive do we say we are? You know, what, even if it is a small step, you know, what small local change that could impact something greater.
Right. With Madison, I'd say it starts with the lakes and trying to get those cleaned up. I don't know what can be done. I mean, that's you're talking about people who own property on the lake, the city with the parks, and you're dealing with farmers and the runoff from, that industry. I don't know what can be done yet. I mean, there's still research to be had and read, carried out, whatever they do. And I think it comes down to homeowners. Is there something that can be? Is there some sort of synergistic way to? Is there plants that it can be planted along the lake that eat up the runoff, the nitrogen from the runoff? I'm talking like I know what I'm talking about, but it's I don't know. There's definitely things that have to be done though. I mean, when you've got parks that are closed 6 weeks out of the summer just because of blue-green algae,
right?
That stuff is nasty.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
And I live 2 blocks from Tenney Park, and you just see it turn green. You're like, and there are people still fishing down there. You're like, how in the world?
I couldn't trust
you can't eat that.
That algae, right?
Oh my God, no.
So a couple of other bigger issues I know we've talked about in the past was your views on the police department and kind of patrolling. Could you kind of explain to listeners what your stance is on that and sort of what change you envision or recommendation you were thinking?
I think there is, especially in Madison, there is a window when if it doesn't work, we can always go back to the status quo. But I think Madison is one of the few cities that could benefit from having a more community policing where they're set up like the fire department rather than a patrolling law enforcement.
So you'd like to see fewer police officers out?
Yeah, fewer. We take, they get stations throughout the city. They use downtime to receive more training on de-escalating situations, more training in disarming people without using their service weapon, and through whatever jujitsu, teach them something that they're more confident in taking someone down through hand to hand rather than I'm just pulling a gun. I understand pulling the gun because you're like I'm not dying for this. I get that aspect of it. So give them more tools to use out in the field, and then they if there's a problem area, you can take a unit from each station and park it in that area until that problem's not there anymore. Mm-hmm. And then I don't know. I'd like to see how much fuel is used in patrolling, and see if we can cut back on that and use that money and reallocate it to education in the city. It's just rethinking it. If it doesn't work, all right, it doesn't work. We can go back to patrolling and writing tickets and generating revenue that way. So
Yeah, no, that's an interesting thought for sure. And I know that there, here in Madison, as in other places, there is a focus on the community policing model, right, and being present in neighborhoods and getting to know people, and in that way also getting to know who the people who come into the system, kind of the most might be.
Right.
So anyway, yeah, definitely interesting topics. I know the city. I mean, there's an ad hoc committee kind of working through a whole set of recommendations from a police consultant. I'm curious to see, what recommendations that ad hoc committee will be coming out with.
It'll be interesting. I mean, and I've heard from several other reputable sources, I guess, but they're just like most of these police officers, like half their time they're essentially social workers. And it's like, all right, well, let's hire some social workers to take care of this, and then they can focus on. But again, like the social workers, they're dealing with the same people over and over again.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Complicated issues. And of course, there's always
a lot of nuances.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's never enough resources to go around, right?
That always seems to be the case.
Yeah. Well, so I'm curious, what do you think sets you apart from the other candidates? I mean, you set up very clearly from the beginning, one thing is unlike the others here in this race. So, yeah, walk us through that. Just
from the feedback I got from people talking after the last forum, it was just, some people walked over and were like, thank you for making that bearable. And I think it's a big aspect of public office and public service is communication. And I'm just a dude. Like, I'm not special. I'm just someone who's trying to learn the ins and outs of municipal politics. And so I think I come off a little bit more relatable. One woman was like, I was having the crappiest evening. And she goes, and I just came down to this. And she goes, you were the delight of the day. And I was like, oh, you're welcome. It was just me being me up there and not pretending to be anything I'm not.
Yeah.
I think is what sets me apart.
I saw a tweet that I think you shared or retweeted or something about another audience member coming up to you afterwards saying, thanks for being a real human.
Yeah. They said, thanks for being the human being. Thanks for being the only human being on stage. I was like, oh, you're welcome.
Yep. So you are Nick Hart, the real human being candidate.
Yeah, the real human being
tagline there
candidate.
for you. So also we learned that you don't actually live in the city.
No, I live in the town of Madison.
Yeah. So how did you find that out? First of all,
we were turning in the signatures on about an hour and 45 minutes before the deadline. We knew just from 2011 that we're not all these signatures are going to be good. We kind of just knew, so we kind of hung out. And the guy's going through at the clerk's office, and he calls another dude over, and they sit there and they go, you don't live in Madison. And me and Matt both looked at each other like, who doesn't live in Madison? He goes, you don't. Nick Hart, you don't live in Madison. I was like, I'm pretty sure I live in Madison. I was like, I've lived here for 15 years. Like, no, you live in the town of Madison. And we're like, what are they talking about? In the little area where I live over there by Tenney Park, there's a 3 or 4 block area where that's the town of Madison that just hasn't been annexed in.
Right. And so that inevitably, I'm sure, made some of your signatures from neighbors, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
that also invalid because...
That struck about 10 signatures.
Yeah.
And I don't even think they knew. I think I saw one, they go, oh, did you get on the ballot? I go, yeah, but you guys know you live in the town of Madison? And they're like, what? I was like, you don't live in the city.
So you found this out on the deadline day.
Yep.
So what did you do after that you found out?
We turned in 210. They struck down 22, so we were 12 short. And we just grabbed some papers and hit the square, hit the coffee shops, hit a couple bars, and got about 18 signatures and came in with about 10 minutes. 10 minutes left.
10 minutes to spare. Yeah. So what does this mean for you if you make it through the primary? According to the article, I don't even think the lawyers knew. If I read that right, there was somebody, the attorney or someone was just like, what happens if he gets elected and doesn't live in Madison? They're like, we don't know. So I heard from the clerk's office, and again, I can verify this for sure, but that if you made it through to the primary, you would have to move to the city.
10 days before the general election date.
Yep.
To set up precedence. So I'll just crash on Matt's couch.
Yeah, or Raj Shukla, another candidate, I think has also offered you a spot in his house. So there's some candidate camaraderie there.
He told me I can stay on his porch.
That's great.
It is,
you learn something new every day,
yeah.
And I think that day you definitely learned where you actually live.
I think what's even more interesting is, in 2022, these areas that are the town of Madison are being annexed into. What's happening to these 6,000 residents that are primarily lower income, 76% are renters. What happens when this gets annexed into city? I don't see the property value going down. So what is going to happen to these 6,000 people that are mostly renters in these lower income areas?
Well, you raise a big question, and there are huge questions associated with annexation, including, and I think Mo Cheeks brought this up at the forum as well, just about providing city services to those specific areas then. And as you said, there's a deadline of 2022 for that. So that's coming up, and it's definitely an issue that the Cap Times is following.
It'll be an issue in the next election.
Well, so we've got a lightning round of some fun questions coming up. But before
this has all been fun.
Oh, I'm so glad you think so. Before we get there, I just wanted to ask if there's anything you'd like listeners to know about you as a candidate for mayor. Anything we didn't touch on? No,
I'm a good read. I'm a good time. I can deliver bad news in a good way.
Nick Hart, the real human candidate.
The real human candidate.
These are lightning rounds, similar vein to the forum that you were at.
Okay.
First thing that comes to your mind.
To make them as entertaining as possible.
Great. All right. Question number 1 is, what is your favorite festival in Madison?
Favorite festival? I really like the Taste of Madison. That's always been fun. I love September here. I moved here in September, and so that's just always been the month that feels like it felt when I first moved here. Like everything was new.
Yeah, fall in Madison is really great.
Yeah, fall in Madison is September and October. I planned to only be here 1 year. Especially after that first winter, I was like, nah, I'm not doing this again. And then May hit, and I just got lulled to sleep. Next thing you know, it's Thanksgiving, and you're like, I should have gotten out of here.
Every year, winter does that to me. Yep.
Now I love the winters. I can't get enough of it. Highs of -15. I love how miserable it makes everybody. I love winters now. Like a born-again Yankee.
All right, number 2, what is your favorite sandwich in Madison?
Favorite sandwich in Madison? It used to be Artemis over off Whitney Way. That was like 12 years ago. Artemis sandwiches were amazing. It was Artemis.
R.I.P.
Yeah, R.I.P. Firehouse makes some pretty good subs. I don't know.
Final answer, Firehouse sub.
Firehouse subs. Something generic.
Okay, third question. What's your favorite statue, landmark, or public art piece in Madison?
I really like I don't know what they're called. They're over on Patterson, South Patterson, those birds, those ostrich metal birds.
Near the water utility, right? And those apartment
they're
complexes?
Outside. Yeah, they're outside the blue and silver buildings. I
know what you're talking about. I used to live over there.
I don't know what they're called. I wrote a novel based in Madison when I first moved here, and I put those in it. They were
That's
creatures
amazing.
that actually talked.
That's so great. Yeah.
Some sort of Neil Gaiman-esque. I really like those. Those are always.
That's a little known one. Yeah, I like that. All right, this is a little game of would you rather? Would you rather have backyard chickens or backyard bees?
Chickens.
Chickens?
Yeah, I'm not messing with
Both are
bees.
permissible in the city of Madison.
I'm not messing with bees.
Would you rather drink small batch coffee, kombucha, or beer?
Well, I don't drink coffee and I don't drink kombucha, but I don't drink beer either. Small batch bourbon.
Okay, all right. Would you rather travel around Madison by bike, bus, or car?
Car.
Car.
Yeah, car.
You look like you have something else you want to say.
Just bikers, I just wish in this town weren't so smug. There's a lot of share the road. It's like, well, I am sharing the road, but you're on a bicycle, so just move over and let me go. But yeah, I'm sure that'll do great for the biker vote. Don't be so smug, people.
Would you rather go to the co-op or grow your own produce in your backyard garden?
We grow our own herbs.
Can you get them to survive the winter? This is my problem. Mine are currently dead.
My girlfriend will bring them in to the house, so then we just have scallions or green onions, whatever you want to call them. We have those growing. She's got, I don't know, she's into that, the whole green thumb thing. But she knows to put stuff down in the winter. She's already planted bulbs, and they'll all come up. And you're like, all right, you know more than I do.
Yeah, I should go to her for some advice. Everything I plant dies, so I don't know what that says about me. All right, how many different Madison neighborhoods have you lived in?
I've only really lived in the Tenney neighborhood. I lived on the 1000 block of East Gorham for a few years, and then the 300 block of Ingersoll. And I don't recommend doing that because you just end up walking all your possessions instead of just putting them into a truck and moving them over. But I seem to do that a lot.
Last question. If you were stranded on a desert island, which book and movie would you want to have with you?
Oh, man, I don't know. Songs for the Doomed, maybe. Hunter S. Thompson, a big Hunter fan.
Okay.
Anything by Kinky Friedman, Chuck Palahniuk. It wouldn't matter. Anything by those authors. What was the other one?
A movie.
A movie?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Something with Bill Murray in it. Stripes, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, Stripes.
Well, that's all I've got for you, so thanks so much for being here on the show.
This was quite painless.
Great. Glad you think so.
Yeah, right
Nick
on.
Hart, Real Human Candidate, everyone.
All right, that's it for Nick Hart. Thanks for joining us. You can also check out Cap Time's other podcasts like Corner Table, which is a dining podcast, or Wedge Issues, which focuses more on state politics. You can subscribe to all these podcasts on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to tune in next time.